Welcome to The Global Girlfriend.
Shall we book a trip to Paris?
Oui, oui. All right, everybody. Welcome back to The Global Girlfriend. My name is Brianna.
And my name's Morgan.
And we are your hosts for the Global Girlfriend podcast. We are a podcast for women who live abroad, travel a lot, and all of the ups and downs and crazy, wonderful things that go into this travel lifestyle. And today we have an episode for all of the lovers in the house. Just joking. You don't have to be a lover to enjoy Paris, but our episode today is all about the city of love. Now, I have personally not been to Paris in a very, very, very long time, but we're so lucky that Morgan is a Paris enthusiast and she has been to Paris a whole bunch of times. So we are just excited to talk about all of the wonderful things that she loves about Paris and give you guys some tips for how to enjoy the city of love, especially if it is your first time in Paris. So, Morgan, let's fire away. How many times do you reckon you've been to Paris?
Okay, this is a beautiful question. And I probably should have counted before we started this podcast, but let me just go ahead in my mind really quickly. Like off the top of my head, I think 5 times. Which
amazing.
I mean, maybe is that a lot or is that not a lot?
I think for someone that is not from France, I think that's a lot.
Okay, so as I've talked to Paris, like as you mentioned, I was a Paris enthusiast. I am absolutely that. And I feel like I've talked about Paris with people all the time. And I feel like you'll find when you talk to people about Paris who have been, there's people who love Paris and people who hate Paris. And maybe that's with every place, but I've particularly found that with Paris. And I have such a hard time because I want everyone to love it, because for all the times that I've been, it's just been such a magical experience for me. And if you've listened to our podcast, if you've heard any of my stories of the true thing that kind of like pushed me to move to Europe and internationally was my trip to Paris. And so very passionate about that.
I love it. And I cannot wait to get into it. So let's right off the bat, tell us about the seasons in Paris and what people can expect if they show up in different seasons.
So as we mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, the City of Love, it is known as the City of Love. And I've always said, like, I've been to Paris when I've been in love and when I've not been. Like, I just went after my bachelorette this year, obviously in the season of getting married. So very, very much in love. And I don't like either context that you're in, it is the city of love. But I think it's whether you're like romantically in love with someone or you're just in love with life or the city, like you'll feel the love. So as far as seasons go, I genuinely love every season. And I didn't count how many times I've been before this podcast, but I was trying to think of what seasons I've been in. And I've literally been in the winter, every season, winter, fall, summer, spring. And I genuinely think you can't go wrong. See when it fits into your life and into your plans and your schedule. But if I was to pick my favorite seasons, I'm always going to be a shoulder season person, just because it's more low key and maybe not as touristy. So even though it's still magical in the summertime, there's a magic about summer and people are mostly able to travel in the summer. My personal favorites are winter and spring. And winter is because I love winter fashion, and especially if you're in a place like Paris, which is just so inspiring and so fashionable, I think like go to Paris in the winter, wear a really cute jacket, wear a cute scarf, and wear some chunky boots, and you're going to feel absolutely alive. So my number one suggestion is go in winter because it's magical, get to be all cozy. But if you wanted a little bit warmer and, things are blossoming and it's still not the high season, the spring is also beautiful and there's still a crispness in the air. And so I say one of those 2 seasons are the best.
I love it. And now I'm just daydreaming about all of the beautiful outfits that I want to wear in Paris. So I like that a lot. Let's chat a little bit about where to stay. So I think a lot of people have, a vision of a beautiful apartment with a little balcony where you look out and see the Eiffel Tower. I know that might not be in everybody's budget. So where do you recommend for people to stay so that they can make the most out of their time in Paris?
Yeah, absolutely. And, as a faithful more or less budget traveler, I've never stayed in the place that overlooks, the Eiffel Tower on the like very picturesque balcony. That is hopefully in the cards for the future. So do it if you can, everybody. But okay, as someone who has been to Paris many times, has stayed in all the random neighborhoods, I truly don't think you can go wrong. I'll get a little bit more specific, but just in general, if you're stressed out about like where you're going to stay, I found that any neighborhood that I've just ended up staying in, whether I booked it on Booking, couch surfing, Airbnb, stayed with a friend of mine from college. Like I've done all the things, whether it was a little hotel or like a little apartment. I've done so many different things. I've loved each one of them, and you find the magic in each of the little neighborhoods. So just keep that in mind. But if you really want to maximize, I would always recommend staying somewhere central if you can fit it into your budget. That just makes it a little bit easier to get around to all the things you want to see. You want to see the Eiffel Tower, the Seine, the museums, the Louvre. I would recommend staying central. And a couple places to consider. If you can stay anywhere near, I would say the Louvre area. I mean, that's one of the most popular areas, but a lot of the things you're going to want to do is going to be there. Obviously, staying near the Eiffel Tower is picturesque and beautiful, and I'm passionate about the Eiffel Tower, but it's not as central to some of the other things. You will hear me talk about the Eiffel Tower so much because I am passionate about it. So if you want that kind of view and that closeness to this staple landmark, obviously stay near there. If you want to be a bit more central and you're going to some of the other sites and maybe closer to more like a classic bars and restaurant scene, the Louvre, all the, Luxembourg Gardens, all that stuff, I would stay near the Louvre, and that is in the first arrondissement. Hopefully I said that right.
Très bien.
Also known as neighborhood. So that's always a good call, but obviously sometimes the more central areas are a bit more expensive. Okay, a couple other areas. My favorite neighborhood is Montmartre. It's like up on the hill, so you be prepared to climb a lot of stairs to get up there. It is stunning. It has gotten more touristy like in the years, but it's still just, it feels like a movie scene. Like sit down for a coffee or a wine, and I think that's a great place to stay. One other place I would mention is the Les Marseilles. I think that's how you say it. And that is a classic area full of cute bars and cocktail bars and jazz lounges, restaurants, and it's just a really lovely cafes, a really lovely place to just have so many places to pop into around you. And again, very central. So long story short, I don't know if this had any organization, but I'm just kind of going on a rant because there's so many things I love about Paris. And
no, I love that.
Can't go wrong.
And they're all like very different. And I think even if you're not staying there, you've definitely sold me on wanting to visit them all. Sounds really fun. So you mentioned the Eiffel Tower. Let's chat about the Eiffel Tower because it's definitely on everyone's bucket list if they're going to Paris, especially for the first time. What do we need to know about the Eiffel Tower?
I'm glad you asked. I am quite passionate about the Eiffel Tower. And some of you might wonder, okay, this is this extraordinarily cliche thing. And it's everywhere. It's in postcards. Everyone talks about it. Like, do I need to see it? And the answer is yes. I know sometimes it's kind of like whatever. If something's super mainstream, maybe you want to take the road less traveled, which I get. But because I also love the road less traveled. But the Eiffel Tower, I just think she's stunning and glorious. And I think it is crucial to try to see her in any possible form. So whether that's during the day, at night when she sparkles every hour. So keep that in mind. Every hour on the hour as it gets dark, she will sparkle. Whether that's sitting in a little park after you've grabbed some wine and cheese and a baguette from a supermarket and just doing a little picnic to see her, whether it's from a rooftop bar, whether you're at a cafe having wine or coffee, like see her in all her glory. I've seen her in so many forms. And also I am quite passionate if you can do just a little easy peasy boat tour on the Seine. It's also lovely to see Paris from that perspective and see the Eiffel Tower from that perspective as well. This last trip I did in February was actually my first time that I've ever been under and on the Eiffel Tower. And I didn't go up to the tip top because I had just read a lot and talked to a lot of people who said it's not quite worth it. It's really windy up there. And so a lot of people that I talked to suggested just going to the second floor. And I will say that the champagne is far too expensive. So maybe skip that. Save it for when you go down and get some supermarket wine. But it was super cool to go up on the Eiffel Tower and climb. We didn't do the elevator. We climbed the steps, which is, I always like getting in some steps, and it's just really cool to be on the Eiffel Tower and be up and like see Paris from being on the Eiffel Tower. So any perspective you can get, I say embrace it, because I do think the Eiffel Tower is magical.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I agree. She is a beautiful landmark, and we say this all the time on this podcast, the popular things are popular for a reason. So I love that. I want to just talk a little bit more about sort of different things to do at different levels of Paris. So something that I have always wanted to do is have a little picnic and look up at the Eiffel Tower. Is there a lot of places where you can go to do that? Is there just one spot where people go to do that? What if someone wants to have that iconic picnic looking at the Eiffel Tower, where should they do that?
There could be multiple ones, but I one time had a friend that was living in Paris that showed me a place, and people know about it. It's not like top secret or anything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just been my go-to place anytime I've gone, or I've gone with so many people that I love, like so many of my best friends. So we've always kind of gone back to this area. There's a little park right in front of it. I believe it's called the Champ de Mars. I'm going to have to look it up, but also take a look at our guide once those are out. But there's a little supermarket right there where you can go grab anything that you need. And there's a really classic street right there where it's like a beautiful view of the Eiffel Tower to get a really cute photo if that's what you like to do. And then you pop over to this area that has some benches. They have some grass. When I was just there, the grass wasn't open to sit on, but in the summers when I've been, like, people brought blankets and could just sit and picnic out. So I would say that park right there, right in front, you have an uninterrupted view, is the place to go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That sounds super beautiful. Another thing you mentioned was the river cruise. And I think that is something that a lot of people love to do. Do you have any tips, daytime versus nighttime? How do you book it? If someone wants to pop on down the river, what's your advice?
Yeah. Okay. I have two things to say to that. I really believe day or night. Like you could do either, but I really if I was to pick one, I think Paris is quite magical at night. So I think if you can go at some time, it might be a popular time, but sometime during sunset tonight, it's just really beautiful to see the city light up and to see, if you can catch it sometime, when the hour hits, see the Eiffel Tower light up. And we did ours where there's a classic kind of like Seine cruise to do, and we didn't book ours in advance. I'm sure there's a way to do that, but we booked ours like on the scene, and we were able to do that easy peasy. Another thing is I'm not so much of a tour person. I've done like a handful in my life, and I'm not always super passionate about them. And because I kind of like to go explore on my own. But I one time it's called a Fat Tire bike tour a long time ago in Paris. And so we did this bike tour that went all around Paris and got to see it by bike. We stopped for, gelato and just through the city. And then it ended with a river cruise with wine. And so we drank a whole lot of wine. But then we had to get back on the bikes, which was like, is this responsible? Should we be doing this? But it was honestly one of the most magical tours I have ever done. I actually just talked to a girl that I met on this. I met her and her mom on this cruise literally in 2016, so like 10 years ago. And
Incredible.
she got married this year, and they did their honeymoon in Europe. And she was like, oh my gosh, we're doing like a tour. I don't know if it's the literal exact same one, but like whatever, the similar one to it. We're going to do that on our honeymoon. And it was literally one of the most iconic tours I've ever done. So if you can do something of the sorts, it was Fat Tire Bike Tour back then, but if it's changed its name or whatever, you got to do that. And you can see the city.
That sounds so fun. Sign me up. Okay, I want to talk about a couple more like touristy things that obviously are bucket list items for people, and then we will move on to perhaps the less touristy things. But let's chat about the Louvre. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the Mona Lisa. What do people need to know? Have you been? What's it like there?
Yes. So I have only been in the Louvre once. And yeah, I think if you haven't done it, you have to. It's beautiful and it's a way, I mean, it's, a part of Paris and to see the art that's in the city. The Mona Lisa is classic, but it's in, very small. So it might be, I mean, you have to see it, but it might be a little bit anticlimactic. I haven't been since probably 2016 and we were going to go in February, but when we got there it was fully booked out. So, I think that's something to consider, to maybe perhaps book in advance you're very passionate about going to the Louvre, because I know it's an iconic place to be. And especially if you go during a season where it's raining, which we had one beautiful sunny day the last time in Feb when we were there, but then we had a rainy day, and it's a perfect time to like escape into a museum in Paris when it's rainy. So maybe consider booking in advance so you can, secure that you can get in. But I think it's worth it if you haven't done it. But I'm not super well, I'm not super knowledgeable of all the museums in Paris, but there's also just so many other ones that you can visit to get that experience and see that beautiful art in the city.
I love that. And then I mean, I know I don't have too many Paris tips because it has been literally decades since I've been there. But I do remember from when I went to the Louvre was, yes, the Mona Lisa is there. There's a lot of people. They want to see her. Definitely go and see it. But I also just remember walking around the Louvre and just being absolutely so impressed and inspired by how many beautiful other famous pieces of art are in that museum. So
Mhm.
definitely like book some serious time to explore the whole museum because there's so many incredible, beautiful paintings. Some of the like most, yeah, it's just gorgeous. Go take a look. Make sure that you don't only go for the Mona Lisa, go for the rest of the art because there's really, really impressive works there. Maybe more so than the Mona Lisa. Controversial, but true.
No, 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 for sure. That's a great point.
Okay, another thing I'm curious about. I don't know if you have ever done this, but this is on my like bucket list of things to do. Have you been to a cabaret or the Moulin Rouge?
The Moulin Rouge. Okay, I am passionate about the cabaret. I've only been once, and it was this last time in February. And it was kind of like we kind of weren't sure what we are gonna do. And I was like, hey, like we could do like I was like Moulin Rouge or blah blah blah. And so we were looking very last second, which I always don't advise to you guys, but we do happen to function in the last second. So we're looking, but all the tickets were sold out. We're like, no problemo. So my friend Nikki, she's been on the pod, she started looking up, other options, and we just found a random one. I'll have to look up the specifics of it to share with you guys, but we're like, okay, yeah, great, like whatever, yeah, we're like, I feel like we live in such contradictions. We like smashed some McDonald's for dinner, went and shared a bottle of wine at a beautiful place, and then went to the cabaret. I'm like, how are we living all these lives in one evening? So we went to the cabaret. I think we split a bottle of rosé, and it was phenomenal. Like I mean, so many talented people, and it's like, how do you put on this phenomenal production of costumes, but also no costumes? If you guys know what a cabaret, there's a lot of no tops going on, and but it's also like sexy and like art. I mean, ultimately, it is absolute art, this production, and it feels so French. And so, like, to me, it feels like it is so much of the culture. And I just think, like, just celebrating art and like people and, sexiness. Like, I think that's important in France. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, it was amazing. You have to go. Maybe don't bring your little kids. I don't even know how old you have to be to go to a cabaret. Oh wait, I feel like we saw a little kid, but actually I'm not sure.
That is so funny. It is literally, it's my like it's my dream to go to the Moulin Rouge. It's my dream to see a cabaret. Moulin Rouge is like probably definitely one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. I love the idea of like the life of a showgirl. I follow
Oh,
some of the Moulin
yes.
Rouge dancers on Instagram, and I just like love seeing their beautiful life in Paris and then getting ready in the evening to go and be in the show. I think yes, absolutely, it is on my bucket list. And if you're in Paris for the first, second, or fifth time, go and see
You
it.
got to. And I think like if you're a person who just like loves life and wants to celebrate life and as a person of the arts, like You will not regret going. You can even have we didn't do dinner there because we went to McDonald's. We were desperately hungry prior. And we were like, but you can have a full-on dinner before the show starts and then have drinks during it. But whatever you want to do, we just ended up doing drinks and the show. And
Love
zero
it.
regrets.
Love it. On the topic of food and drink, let's talk about Parisian cafe culture because I feel like that is a big thing. What has your experience been like at Paris cafes?
What I love is that I feel like when you're in Paris, obviously there's a little bit of a hustle and bustle of a big city, but there's a bit of a slowness I feel like in the French culture. So I think take it easy, stroll on over to a cafe and just sit, have a croissant, have a cappuccino or whatever coffee drink you want to drink. And I just love the slowness and there's always people at a cafe morning, day and night. And so you have to just plan on making that as a part of your activity. Like it's just not a quick stop, it's part of the day, part of the culture. And you need to slow down and just sit outside at a cafe and slowly watch the people and drink your coffee. I am
I love
passionate.
that. And you also mentioned before that you're not necessarily a tour person and you prefer just wandering. What is your approach to just wandering around Paris?
Typically how I travel in general, it's hard to say because I've been to Paris, quite a bit, but I always have places that I want to either return to or that it's on my list that I want to try. So I'll mark things on my Google Maps and I will kind of just see where I go. Like I have very sometimes specific things I'm like, okay, I have to do this. But otherwise I kind of have planned spontaneity. I'm just going to meander for a while and I think I'm going to be in this area and there is a cafe that I marked that if I can't find a place that intrigues me more, I'm going to go to this place that I had in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And so I think kind of remaining open because I think things just kind of captivate you in Paris, but also I have a couple planned things in the back of my mind that I would love to go to, if nothing else that I see that I want to stop at and hang for a while.
Okay, I love that. That is really fun. Now, we don't want to obviously promote stereotypes, but I think we should maybe talk about some of the more controversial opinions that are circulating online that people who are going to Paris for the first time might be curious about. One thing that I think people hear a lot is that Paris is kind of like a dirty city that's a bit grungy and, just not nice, not very clean. A lot of people do tend to say that about Paris. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, people have said that to me directly. I don't like this place because it's disgusting and dirty. I think everyone has different experiences and maybe you got there when they were on a trash strike. I don't know. And I haven't personally found it to be so in my face as absolutely dirty because I found it maybe I've just been whisked away of the romance of the city. But on an absolutely different contradictory note to what I'm just saying, I have seen a little kid poop on the sidewalk before. So it's how did I see that? But it's hard to say. But I have not found it alarmingly. I found it to be magical. And so that's not something that kind of pushed me away.
The pros outweigh the cons, and that is true of many cities. And then the other sort of stereotype, and maybe this is only a stereotype from my perspective because I am Canadian, and so we grew up with this narrative that French people don't like it when Canadians go and speak French because Canadians have a bad accent, blah, blah, blah. French people only want to speak French. They hate English. These are all of the stereotypes that we get in Canada. What was your experience like with language in Paris?
Yeah, well, I always try to do a little bit of French, say hello, like bonjour or bonsoir, or, I try to incorporate that as much as I can. Obviously, I don't speak a whole lot of French, but I do try to incorporate it. But ultimately, I've had such wonderful experiences. I mean, I've never had a severely rude person experience in Paris. And even thinking on my most recent one this year, I felt like I went with two of my friends or my sister-in-law and one of my childhood friends who this was their first time in Paris. And we all three were overwhelmed by how kind people were to us, exceptionally kind and accommodating and helpful. And so really I've had great experiences, and I don't sometimes I we kept saying we have lucky girl syndrome, and I feel like I am a very lucky person, and so maybe it's lucky girl syndrome pulling through, but I feel like I don't know. I've had just really like I've tried to sometimes I'm sassy, don't forget that, but I do like try to meet people with kindness, and I've
Yeah.
received that a lot in Paris as well.
I love that. I think that is beautiful and that is so refreshing to hear. And I guess as we sort of start to wrap things up, I guess maybe my final question is why do you keep going back to Paris? You've been 5 times. I don't think you're finished yet. What is it about Paris that keeps bringing you back?
Yeah, okay, I feel like every, 365 days, I start getting this itch to, I need to be back in Paris, and it doesn't always happen, that often, maybe every couple
Yeah.
years, whatever, but I just always want to go back, it's something in my heart and soul that loves that city, and I think there's something and we probably have talked about it on the pod, but, of course, there's so many new places I wanna see, and there's something special about going somewhere for the first time. But there also is something very special about revisiting a place that you love and maybe go back to some of your favorite sites, just as they're familiar and you love them and to see them again. But then you keep, trying new things in this familiar place. And then you just kind of build this repertoire of all these things you love in this place. And I don't know. I think there's something special about going back to somewhere that's a little bit familiar. And then it starts to feel a little bit more like home. I've never lived in Paris,
Aw.
but every time I go back, I'm like, "Ugh, I love this city.
You
And I
just
want
feel at
everyone I
peace and
know
you
to
feel
go."
alive. Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. That's awesome. And just being able to share that with people, incredible.
Yeah, I hope as you guys know that Brianna is moving back to Europe here soon. So as you're just going to be a hop, skip and a jump away. I hope you do a little Paris weekend, go to the Cabernet, kind of see the city again. And I'll be really curious to hear what your thoughts are.
Oh my gosh. I can't, going to Paris for a weekend is one of the things that I'm most looking forward to about moving to Switzerland. Also, I need everybody who's listening to help me manifest something. So, Celine Dion is doing a series of
Yes.
concerts in Paris. And I tried to get tickets. I didn't get tickets, but I think my sister and I are just going to show up in Paris and try and get some at the gate or whatever, do some last minute finagling. So if everyone who is listening can just visualize me and my sister going to see Celine in Paris, I would much appreciate that.
That is perfect. Truly, let's channel the lucky girl syndrome,
The
please.
lucky girl syndrome for that, for sure. Okay, amazing. So, Morgan, this was awesome. I'm just literally so inspired to be moving so close to Paris. I can't wait to go back. Hopefully, we can go there together sometime. I think that would be literally iconic. Oh my god, it would
Would
be
love
so good.
that.
My heart is racing. I'm so excited. So yes, we hope that you enjoyed this episode on Paris. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, want advice for your trip, shoot us a message. Morgan, where can people find us on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can find us on socials at The Global Girlfriend on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or head over to our website, theglobalgirlfriend.com. You can shoot us a little email from there. But yeah, like Brianna said, want to hear ask us anything, but also we want to hear what are your thoughts on Paris? What do you love about it? What do you not love about it? All the things. Please share. We'd love to hear.
Please share. Let us know if you know anybody that is a global girlfriend who you think would like this episode or our other episodes. Feel free to share it with them. Give us some stars, give us some comments. Everything helps us grow. We love you guys so much, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Yeah, see you guys. Bye.